Lyanna kept touching and squeezing the man's member. He lifted her and laid her on the bed. There was no turning back now. Though nervous, Lyanna nodded. She wanted to experience what it meant to be a real woman. Just go slow, okay? That thing's so big. I might end up in the hospital. The man smiled and slowly kissed Lyanna on the ear, whispering, "Don't worry. I've got you. There won't be any pain, just pure heaven." He began to make love to her, and Lyanna couldn't help but let out a cry. It was her first time, and everything she felt was so intense. Pain and pleasure mixed into something strange and overwhelming. But as time passed, the pleasure overtook the pain. His kisses deepened, thirsting for her lips, trailing across other parts of her body. "Why'd you stop? What's with that look? Keep going." "I'm so close," Lyanna asked with a furrowed brow. Why did the man suddenly pause? How did it all begin? Dark Voices fans, can you guess what sparked this unexpected connection? Lyanna was counting coins at her small sidewalk stall when an old woman approached. She was selling snacks, candy, and cigarettes from a makeshift wooden setup. "Miss, can I please have something to eat?" "I'm hungry," the old woman asked. Lyanna nodded and walked over to help the woman sit. She gave her a piece of steamed rice cake and a cup of water. "Thank you, dear," the old woman said with a smile. "It's nothing, Mom," Lyanna replied. After the old woman finished eating, she noticed a child sleeping on the sidewalk, lying on an empty rice sack. The woman kept staring. "That's my son," Lyanna said with a smile. "Your nephew Leon," she clarified. "But he calls me Mom because I raised him. His real mother, my sister, died after giving birth." "Is it just the two of you?" the old woman asked. "Yes, dear." "Can I stay with you?" "I have nowhere else to go," she asked gently. Lyanna was surprised but smiled immediately. "Sure, ma'am. It's just me and Leon in our tiny home." "You're such a kind soul." "I'm Ninfa," the old woman said with a warm smile. "I'm Lyanna." "You've got a beautiful name, just like you," Ninfa replied. They went to Lyanna's house. That's when Lyanna asked the question that had been on her mind for a while. "Mom, who is she?" Lyanna asked. "She's Grandma Ninfa. She's going to live with us now because she doesn't have a place to stay," Lyanna explained. "Okay. Hello, Grandma Ninfa." "I'm Leon," the 5-year-old said cheerfully. Despite his age, he knew how to treat elders with respect. After a week, Ninfa decided to return to her home and wanted to bring Lyanna and Leon with her. "Lyanna, I'm going back to my house." "I'd like to take you too with me," Ninfa said. "You have a house?" "I thought you didn't," Lyanna said in disbelief. "I left because I was so heartbroken by my grandson," Ninfa said sadly. "If it's true, then we'll come with you," Lyanna said. Moments later, a luxurious car arrived in front of Lyanna's house. "Let's go," Ninfa said with a smile, standing at the car door. Lyanna's jaw dropped. She couldn't believe Ninfa had such a fancy car. Both she and Leon were stunned. Inside the car, Leon was amazed. "It smells nice in here, and it's so cold. When we get home, we'll choose some new clothes for you, too," Ninfa said with a smile. "You don't have to do that. It's embarrassing enough that we're staying at your place," Lyanna said. "I hope you'll let me. I want to do it for both you and Leon." "I'll also send him to school," Ninfa insisted. Confusion flashed across Lyanna's face. "Why?" she asked. "Because I know you're struggling." "You've been so kind to take me in," Ninfa replied. When they arrived at Ninfa's home, Leon was even more amazed. He never expected the old woman they helped was rich. "Mom, this house looks like the ones we see on TV," Leon said in awe. Lyanna felt dizzy as they entered. The place was enormous. Her eyes landed on a stunning man with a serious look. His brows furrowed as he stared at them. "Grandma, thank God you're home." "I've been so worried," the man, Kurt, said. Ninfa rolled her eyes. "Worried? All you do is give me headaches." Come on, Grandma, Kurt complained. Then he turned to Lyanna. Who are they? Your new grandkids? At least they care about me, even though they don't know me, Ninfa said bitterly. Kurt frowned. You adopted new grandkids? They don't look trustworthy, Ninfa smacked his arm. You're being ridiculous. Don't interfere. They're probably just here for your money, Kurt muttered. And what about you? Wasting money on your women, Ninfa snapped. Lyanna and Leon, my new family. They're staying here from now on. Mom, I'm scared, Leon whispered, clinging to Lyanna's arm. You picked up a disgrace, Kurt sneered with a smirk. Lyanna had enough. She slapped Kurt hard across the face. First, he was disrespectful to his grandmother. Second, he judged her right away. Both Ninfa and Kurt were stunned, but Ninfa quickly recovered and smiled. It was the first time someone dared to hit her insufferable grandson. You have such a sharp tongue, but we're not bad people. Between the three of us, it's you who has the rotten attitude. Look at yourself talking that way to your grandma. A grown man being petty and judgmental, Lyanna scolded Kurt. Kurt's lips parted in shock. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. Everyone usually smiled at him, even when he cursed or hurt them. But this woman in front of him was different, completely fearless. Ninfa chuckled quietly at Kurt's stunned expression. They were now at the dining table. Kurt looked dazed, still out of it. Ninfa leaned toward Lyanna and whispered, You did great. I'm sorry about my grandson. He was spoiled growing up. I couldn't control his attitude. It's nothing, Miss Ninfa. Honestly, I feel bad for slapping him. But I don't regret it. What he did was wrong, Lyanna replied. Ninfa nodded. I understand. If he does anything wrong again, slap him again. Lyanna smiled and nodded. Hey, I heard that. I won't let you slap me again, Kurt said, overhearing them. Be quiet, Kurt, Ninfa warned. Kurt turned and gave Lyanna a long, narrowed stare. Lyanna sweetly smiled back and gave him a teasing grin. She wasn't going to let him win, especially since Ninfa was clearly on her side. Lyanna agreed to live at Ninfa's mansion after considering it would be a better life for Leon if he could go to school, but she didn't agree to live there for free. She insisted on working around the mansion in exchange for their stay. Leon was overjoyed. He had new clothes, toys, and a nice room to share with Lyanna. No more mosquitoes or a leaky roof when it rained. While Lyanna was cleaning a figurine, she noticed Kurt walk by from the corner of her eye. Unbelievable, Kurt muttered loud enough for her to hear. Lyanna ignored him and kept polishing. If she engaged, it might lead to a fight. She stopped and put her hands on her hips. Hey, you old guy acting like a child. We're not leaving. Miss Ninfa let us stay here. Kurt's eyes widened, and he pointed at himself. Old guy acting like a child? Wow, you've got guts, woman. Why am I wrong? Look at how you act. You're giving your grandma headaches. Don't you feel bad? She's old. And if what's pissing you off is that we live here. Well, for your information, this isn't free. I work here, Lyanna raised an eyebrow as she stood her ground. Kurt clenched his jaw, fists tight. You woman, you're really pushing my patience. Don't bother me. I'm working. Go to your playgirls, you man-child, Lyanna said, shooing him off. She knew Kurt was a womanizer and spent all his time in bars. That's why Miss Ninfa was so worried about him. He still hadn't straightened up. Kurt sighed heavily and walked away with heavy steps. Meanwhile, Ninfa had been watching them in secret. She smiled, amused at how Kurt couldn't win against Lyanna. Over the next 2 months, Lyanna witnessed firsthand what a headache Kurt could be. Irresponsible, always drunk, disrespectful to Ninfa. I don't know what to do with Kurt anymore. I don't want to die while he's still like this. The company will collapse, Ninfa said, clearly distressed. Why is he like that? Where are his parents? Lyanna asked. His parents died in a car accident. I gave him everything he wanted so he wouldn't feel the absence of his mom and dad. But I think I overdid it. Now he's turned out like this, Ninfa explained sadly. They were interrupted when Kurt stumbled in, clearly drunk, swaying as he walked. You woman, suck up. You took my grandma from me, Kurt slurred, pointing a finger at Lyanna. Kurt, go to your room and sleep, Ninfa said firmly. Kurt nearly fell over, but Lyanna caught him just in time. She winced from his weight. I'll take him upstairs. Is that okay? She asked Ninfa. Yes, dear, Ninfa replied, a bit hesitant. Lyanna began guiding him up the stairs, ignoring his noise. She sighed in relief when she finally got him to his bed. You're so heavy, she muttered. Kurt suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her onto the bed. He pinned her beneath him and grinned. I bet you like me. That's why you're not leaving. Lyanna smirked. I would never like someone like you. You're a walking headache. Get off, or I'll crush your nuts. Kurt's grin faded. But before he could react, Lyanna bit his lip hard. He yelped and let go. Then she kicked him between the legs. You pervert. Try that again, and I'll crush your hot dog, too. Oh, my balls, Kurt whimpered, holding himself in pain. If I end up sterile, good. That way, you won't spread more little headaches like yourself, Lyanna said and stormed out of the room. You'll pay for this, Kurt growled, suddenly sober thanks to her wrath. Lyanna touched her lips, remembering Kurt's sudden kiss. It was her first kiss. And what a terrible memory to attach to it. Mom, why are you spacing out? Leon asked, already lying in bed. Nothing, honey. Just go to sleep. Tomorrow's your first day of school. Sleep next to me, Mom, Leon said sweetly. Lyanna smiled and walked over, lying beside him and kissing his forehead. She sang to him softly until he fell asleep. Lyanna woke up early to prepare for Leon's first day of school. She was happy and excited. While they were having breakfast, Lyanna noticed Kurt kept glancing at them. I'll take you to school, he said suddenly. Ninfa and Lyanna were both shocked. Ninfa got up and pressed her palm to Kurt's forehead. Are you okay? You don't feel hot, Ninfa said. Grandma, stop, Kurt said in protest. Are you really my grandson? Ninfa asked, still not convinced. Yeah, why? Did you hit your head or something? Lyanna asked while they were walking to the car. You're insane. What are you even talking about? Kurt said, trying to keep himself from yelling. He smiled at Leon and patted his head. Hey, kid, do your best in school. Good thing you're cute. You don't take after your mom. You shouldn't say things like that to a kid, Lyanna snapped. You're cute, Kurt continued, but way too feisty for a girl like you. I know I'm cute. I just don't take crap from anyone, especially not men like you, Lyanna shot back. Kurt smirked. That's new. During the ride, Kurt kept talking to Leon, who politely answered, though he looked a little shy. When they arrived at the school, Kurt carried Leon, and they looked like a real family. Thanks, Uncle Kurt, Leon said. Welcome, kid. Study hard. I'll pick you up later, Kurt said, looking at Lyanna. No need. We'll just catch a ride. I said I'll pick you up, he insisted. Lyanna was forced to nod. Good, Kurt said before walking off with swagger. Later that day, before classes ended, Kurt had already returned. He sat beside Lyanna. Why are you here so early? Lyanna asked. I finished everything I had to do. Already done with your girls? Lyanna sneered. Sounds like you're jealous, like a wife, Kurt said with a smirk. Even if you were my husband, you're not the kind of man I'd get jealous over. Kurt frowned. Why not? I'm handsome, great body. All the women want me. Maybe, but what good is a pretty face if all you bring is trouble? Lyanna said seriously. Life is better and more peaceful with someone who can love and be loyal. Kurt didn't reply. He just stared at her like he had fallen into deep thought. "Mom!" Leon shouted, making both Lyanna and Kurt look in his direction. "Leon," Lyanna said with a smile as she stood and walked over to him. "Mom, look." "I got 3 stars, Leon said proudly, showing the back of his hand where the stars were stamped. "Wow, my baby's amazing," Lyanna beamed. "Very good, kid. Because of that, we're going to Jollibee and buying a toy," Kurt said. "Kurt," Lyanna scolded. "What?" "I'm just giving him a reward," Kurt replied. "He might end up spoiled like you." "He won't. He has you for a mom," Kurt said meaningfully. Lyanna fell silent and looked away from Kurt's eyes. "Just this once, Mom." "Are you mad?" Leon asked. Lyanna smiled and shook her head. "No." Lyanna watched as Leon happily munched on his chicken joy. She couldn't help but notice how Kurt had changed. "Why are you acting differently?" she asked him, puzzled. "Why are you and Grandma so surprised? Was I really that awful?" Kurt replied. "Yes. Are you planning something bad? If you think you can make me fall for you, it won't work." "You're not my type," Lyanna said. Kurt choked on his drink. After swallowing, he said, "Your brain is wild." "That's not what I meant." But that actually was his plan, to make Lyanna fall for him. The only problem was she saw right through him. Lyanna smiled. "Can you blame me? You're that kind of guy." Kurt could only shake his head. "Wow, I must look really bad in your eyes." Kurt wiped some sauce off Leon's cheek. Lyanna smiled at the sweet gesture. Even if she didn't know him well, she could tell Kurt had a gentle side. "Thank you, Uncle Kurt. You're actually nice." "I thought you were mean," Leon said. "I'm not mean. I'm handsome," Kurt said. Leon giggled, and Lyanna rolled her eyes. They went home together. Ninfa greeted them in the living room. "What did you do to them?" Ninfa asked Kurt immediately. "Grandma," Kurt groaned. "Grandma Ninfa, Uncle Kurt brought us to Jollibee," Leon said excitedly. "Really?" Ninfa asked, surprised. "Yes," Leon nodded. "Leon's classes are only in the morning, right?" Kurt asked. Yes," Ninfa said, and Kurt walked away. "What's going on with my grandson?" Ninfa wondered aloud. "Maybe he hit his head and suddenly turned nice," Lyanna said with a shrug. Ninfa turned to Lyanna and smiled knowingly. "Looks like he's falling." Lyanna winced and shook her head. "Not likely." "All right, I'll go upstairs and change Leon's clothes," she added. In the garden, Lyanna was watering the plants while Leon lay on the grass writing in a notebook. Kurt saw them and paused. He stared at Lyanna as she sang softly while watering. He hadn't realized she had such a beautiful voice. It was like a lullaby. His heart started pounding faster as he watched her. He didn't notice he had already approached her. "Oh, Kurt, do you need something?" Lyanna asked in surprise. "You, clean my room," he said. "Oh, really? Okay, I'll be there after this." "Mom, I'm sleepy," Leon said with a yawn. Lyanna put down the hose and picked him up. "I'll put him to bed first." "I'll clean up here," Kurt offered, referring to Leon's scattered things. "Thanks," Lyanna said, then walked inside to their room. Once Leon was asleep, she headed to Kurt's room to clean. "Oh my god, this place is a disaster," she muttered, looking around at the mess. Clothes hanging everywhere, empty beer cans, plastic wrappers. "When was the last time this room was cleaned?" she asked. "Never. I don't let anyone in here," Kurt replied, lounging on the sofa. "Not even Miss Ninfa?" "Nope." "Then why did you let me in to clean it?" "Stop asking questions and just clean," Kurt said, irritated. Lyanna rolled her eyes and got to work. Kurt watched her every move, making her uncomfortable. It took Lyanna more than 2 hours to finish. She collapsed onto the bed in exhaustion. She could still smell Kurt's cologne on the sheets. Who said you could lie down? Kurt asked with a raised eyebrow. I just need a minute. My back hurts. Your room is a dump, but it smells nice, she replied. Kurt turned to the door, cheeks blushing. Get out, he said. Lyanna stood up with a dramatic sigh and rolled her eyes. Kurt suppressed a grin as she stomped away. I thought you were getting nicer. Turns out you were just momentarily possessed, Lyanna muttered. I heard that, Kurt called. I thought you didn't, Lyanna shot back. Kurt followed her and grabbed her hand. You buzz around and mumble like a bee, he said, pinning her against the wall, arms caging her in. Hey, what are you doing? Lyanna stammered. She could smell his cologne, making her body tingle. Kurt gave her a mischievous grin and touched her cheek. Nothing, just feeling how thick your face is. Lyanna bit her lip and slapped his hand away. Cut it out. Oh, are you seducing me? Kurt asked. What? Are you insane? You're the one acting flirty. Then why'd you bite your lip while looking me in the eye? Wrong move, dear, Kurt said in a seductive tone. Lyanna tried to push him, but he didn't budge. Looks like your brain is frozen. You think I'm seducing you? Then why do you seem turned on? Kurt whispered in her ear. Lyanna gasped, goosebumps rising as he licked her ear. Kurt, she shrieked. He just laughed. What's wrong, dear? Go away. Lyanna yelled. What if I don't want to? Kurt teased. I'll crush your eggs and hot dog. Kurt backed off instantly, cupping himself. Please, don't think of my future children. Lyanna stormed out of the room, leaving Kurt still smiling. He couldn't explain why, but annoying her made him incredibly happy. Grandma, I'll take over the company, Kurt declared. They were eating breakfast when Nympha nearly spit out the milk she was drinking. Her eyes widened as she stared at him. What did you just say? Nympha asked, unable to believe what she'd heard. Lyanna, meanwhile, smiled secretly. She could see the joy and surprise on Nympha's face. I said I'll take over the company, Kurt repeated. Nympha laughed loudly and clapped her hands. A miracle. Grandma, you're overreacting, Kurt said, cringing. You never wanted anything to do with the company. All you cared about was living it up, Nympha said. Kurt sighed. I'm not getting any younger, and I know you're getting tired, Grandma. Nympha got up, walked over to Kurt, and kissed his cheek, teary-eyed. Thank God he finally heard my prayer, Nympha said joyfully. Kurt glanced quickly at Lyanna but looked away when he noticed she was also looking at him. I'll take you two to school before I go to work, Kurt said. No need. Thank you, though, Lyanna said. I'll take you. It's hard to commute, especially with a child, Kurt insisted. I said we're fine. I'm taking you, Kurt cut her off. Let him drive you, Nympha said gently. Please, Mom. The car is comfy and cold, Leon chimed in. Lyanna had no choice but to nod. All right, but it feels like we're bothering you. You're not a bother, Kurt replied. After dropping them off, he left for the office. Lyanna couldn't stop thinking about what Kurt had said, that she and Leon weren't a bother. She couldn't tell if it made her blush or if she was genuinely happy. She was snapped out of her thoughts when Leon's teacher approached her. Hi, Mississippi. Are you Leon's mom? The teacher asked. Yes. Mom, tomorrow is family day. I figured you didn't know since you're not in the group chat. There'll be activities for the kids and their parents, the teacher explained. Lyanna nodded. Okay, thank you. The teacher returned to the classroom, and Lyanna sighed. She wasn't prepared for this part of school life. She lost track of time, deep in thought again, when Kurt appeared in front of her. Looks like you're thinking hard, Kurt said, making her jump. You're here already? Lyanna asked. School's not over yet, he replied. Not yet. I guess I came early. What's got you so spaced out? Kurt asked. Tomorrow is family day at Leon's school, Lyanna explained. Oh, are you upset because Leon doesn't have a dad? Where is Leon's father, anyway? Kurt asked. He's dead, Lyanna lied. The truth was, he was alive with a wife and children of his own. Lyanna's sister, Leon's birth mother, died from stress during pregnancy after discovering the man she loved had a family. I can be Leon's dad, Kurt said. Lyanna raised an eyebrow. That's terrifying. You're acting so weird. It's like you've been possessed. Kurt gently pinched the bridge of her nose. This is the one time I'm being nice. Let me help. I'll go with you tomorrow. You just started working. You're going to skip already? It's fine. I'm the CEO. Grandma will understand, Kurt said. Fine. Thanks. You told me to take advantage of your kindness, right? Lyanna said with a smirk. Let's go to the mall and buy matching family shirts, Kurt said, smiling. Family shirts? The teacher didn't mention anything about that, Lyanna said, confused. It'll look better, Kurt replied. I didn't know you had a cheesy side, Lyanna said, laughing. It's not cheesy. If you say so, Lyanna replied. Kurt carried Leon as they entered the mall. Women and even some men turned their heads to look at Kurt because of his striking good looks. Put Leon down. He knows how to walk, Lyanna said. Later. This way, we'll get to the store faster, Kurt answered. At the store, Kurt asked, what color do you like? Pink. That's Leon's favorite, Lyanna answered, flashing him a playful grin. Miss, a pink family shirt, Kurt told the sales lady. The woman tucked her hair behind her ear flirtatiously and smiled seductively. Is it for you, sir? Yes, for my daughter and wife, Kurt replied, referring to Lyanna. The smile disappeared from the sales lady's face, but she quickly recovered. Ah, okay, sir. Lyanna nudged Kurt in the ribs once the sales lady left. Wife. That was annoying. Her smile was annoying me, Kurt said. Oh, please. I thought you liked that. You're a womanizer. I was, not anymore, Kurt said. Seriously? Lyanna didn't get a chance to respond because the sales lady returned with the shirts in the right sizes. Kurt paid, and they left the store. Where do you want to eat? Kurt asked Leon with a smile. Jollibee? Leon answered excitedly. You? Kurt asked Lyanna. Anywhere's fine, as long as it's your treat, she said. Kurt laughed. All right, Jollibee it is. While they ate, Kurt stared at Lyanna, wondering why his heart was racing. He'd been with many women, but no one ever made him feel like this. Lyanna wasn't overly glamorous, but there was something about her that hit differently. You're actually really beautiful, he told her. Lyanna's face turned red, and she glared at him. You're even prettier when you blush, Kurt added, grinning. Stop it, Kurt. Just eat, she snapped to cover her embarrassment. This is the second time you've brought us here, but you never eat, Lyanna said. I don't really like fast food. Then why do you bring us here? Because it makes Leon happy. That's enough for me, Kurt said. Lyanna didn't answer. She just kept eating, even though she wanted to smack herself for feeling giddy. Who wouldn't, with Kurt looking so serious and handsome while saying things like that? Uncle Kurt, can you be my dad instead? Leon asked suddenly. Lyanna froze in shock. It was the first time Leon had ever mentioned having a dad. My classmates have dads, too, Leon added. Lyanna didn't know how to respond. She was speechless. Kurt calmly smiled and ruffled Leon's hair. Of course. Lyanna glared at Kurt. No, Leon. Uncle Kurt can't be your dad. Why not? Leon asked sadly. Because someday Uncle Kurt will have his own family. He'll have his own kids, Lyanna said. She didn't want Leon to get hurt when that time came. Kurt lifted Leon into his lap. call me Dad. But Mom said I can't, Leon replied. I'm not planning on starting a family like she says. I already have one with you and your mom, Kurt said with a smile. Kurt, don't give the kid false hope, Lyanna said firmly, though softly. Why? I'm serious. Unless you want to be my wife, Kurt teased with a grin. Lyanna clicked her tongue. You're crazy. You think marriage is a joke? I'm serious, Kurt said. Lyanna exhaled sharply to calm herself. Mom, can I call Uncle Kurt Dad now? Leon asked in a pleading voice. Lyanna widened her eyes at Kurt. You better fix this, or I swear I'll curse you. She turned to Leon. All right. Yes, I have a dad now, Leon cheered. Curse me all you want, as long as I go crazy over you, Kurt said, grinning. Leon giggled, even though he didn't understand what Kurt meant. As they walked back to the car, Kurt pulled Lyanna close, their bodies nearly touching. Hey, Lyanna protested, pulling away like she'd been burned. Kurt chuckled. My wife's so dramatic. 3 students passed by and giggled when they overheard what Kurt said. Cut it out, Kurt, Lyanna warned. Kurt just grinned. What did I do wrong, Lana? Lyanna's eyes widened in disbelief, her mouth agape. Kurt lifted her chin to close her mouth. My wife is so beautiful, especially when she's blushing, he said. When they got in the car, Lyanna rolled her eyes at him. Want to make a sibling for Leon? Kurt teased. Lyanna groaned and threw Leon's bag at him. You're so annoying. Mom, are you going to make me a sibling with Dad? Can I have one tomorrow? Leon asked innocently. Lyanna's face turned red, she looked like she was going to explode from embarrassment. Kurt laughed so hard his shoulders shook. All right, we'll make one later, he said jokingly. Furious, Lyanna grabbed his hair and gave it a tug. Ow! Kurt yelled, still laughing. Mom, don't hurt Dad. That's bad, Leon said. Lyanna stopped and shot a glare at Kurt. If looks could kill, he would have dropped dead on the spot. Even as they arrived home, Kurt's grin hadn't faded. Ninfa noticed. Looks like you're in a good mood, Ninfa observed with a smile. He's been teasing me non-stop, Lyanna complained. Grandma, Uncle Kurt's my dad now, Leon announced happily. Ninfa's smile widened. Really? I'm happy for you too. Looks like something possessed Kurt and made him a better man. Love can change anything. When you fall in love, it changes you, Ninfa said, smiling at Kurt. He avoided her gaze. I don't know what you're talking about, Grandma. I've never been in love. Are you sure? Or are you just afraid to admit it? Ninfa asked knowingly. Kurt put Leon down and walked quickly up the stairs without a word. Where did you guys go? Ninfa asked as she arrived. We bought family shirts for Leon's family day tomorrow. Then we went out to eat, Lyanna answered. Ninfa looked at the shirts. How sweet. This big one must be for Kurt. Yes, the teacher didn't say it was required, but Kurt insisted we buy them, Lyanna said, shaking her head with a smile. My grandson's smitten. Ha? Lyanna said, confused. Dear, when Kurt finally confesses his feelings, don't make it hard for him, okay? He's never had a serious relationship before. I know he's never loved anyone, Ninfa said gently. I think you're mistaken, ma'am. Kurt wouldn't fall for someone like me, Lyanna replied. Ninfa smiled sweetly. I know my grandson. I see it in his eyes how he looks at you. Well, I'm going upstairs to change Leon, Lyanna said quickly, trying to avoid the topic. The next morning, Lyanna woke up early to prepare. They needed to be at Leon's school by 7 a.m. so parents could help set up before the event started. Good morning, Kurt greeted in his deep voice. Lyanna turned to see him rubbing his eyes, clearly still sleepy and looking like he hadn't slept well. Good morning, Lyanna replied as she cooked hot dogs and ham. Kurt yawned. I slept late. Too busy with your girls again? Lyanna asked. No, I was up all night thinking about one girl, Kurt said as he looked intently at Lyanna. Lyanna didn't answer. She just continued setting the table, pretending not to hear him. Eat? I'm going to wake Leon, she said. Let's eat together once everything's ready, Kurt said. Did Grandma come home last night? No, she said she and her friends went to a beach resort, Lyanna replied. She told you but didn't tell me, and I'm her grandson, Kurt said, shaking his head. Lyanna shrugged and headed off to wake Leon. While on the way to school, Lyanna couldn't help but grimace. The three of them were all wearing pink family shirts. Kurt said daddy, Leon said daughter, and Lyanna said mommy. Kurt, aren't you embarrassed to be wearing these shirts? She asked, frowning. No, they look great, he said with a smile. Lyanna sighed and looked out the window. Aren't you ashamed? We look so cheesy. There's nothing cheesy about us. We look like a happy family, Kurt replied. Dad's right. Our shirts are so pretty, Leon added. Okay, you win. We're already wearing them anyway, Lyanna gave in. Don't worry. You look beautiful in yours, Kurt complimented. Lyanna blushed and rolled her eyes. You're just trying to flatter me. No, I mean it. Right, Leon, isn't your mom pretty? Yes, Mom's so pretty, and Dad's handsome, Leon said with a giggle. Of course, and you're beautiful, too, Leon, Kurt said, carrying Leon with one hand and holding Lyanna's waist with the other. Do you have to hold me? Lyanna whispered. Yes. A lot of guys are looking at you. If you don't want people thinking we're fighting, just let me, Kurt whispered back, sounding jealous. Dad, why are you whispering with Mom? Leon asked. Kurt kissed Leon on the cheek. We're just being sweet. Wow, look at Leon's family. They're so lovely, her teacher said, clapping her hands. Her mom's so sweet, one parent whispered to her husband. They think we're a real happy family, Kurt said, grinning. Lyanna elbowed him lightly. Cut it out. The parents helped prepare for the games and handled the food. The first event was a fun run. Leon finished fourth. Good job, Leon. You did great, Kurt said with a big smile. But I didn't win, Dad, Leon said, looking sad. That's okay. You're always the winner for me and your mom, Kurt said as he ruffled Leon's hair. Lyanna couldn't stop smiling as she watched Kurt and Leon. They really looked like father and son. She noticed the light in Leon's eyes, something she'd never seen before. Lyanna secretly wiped away tears forming in her eyes. She was happy seeing Leon happy. She couldn't give him a complete family, and she had no plans to marry. Her only goal had been to raise Leon. Kurt noticed her wiping her tears. Let's enjoy today, all three of us, he said. Lyanna smiled. Yes, thank you, Kurt. Kurt stared at her for a second. You're welcome, honey. Lyanna frowned and rolled her eyes. Honey. Kurt just laughed and didn't reply. The next game was a sack race where each family jumped together to the finish line. The sack was big enough to fit Lyanna and Kurt. Kurt carried Leon in the middle. Hold my waist tightly. We're going to win this, Kurt instructed Lyanna. We might fall. Are you sure you can carry Leon and keep up with me? Lyanna asked nervously. I could carry you both if I had to, Kurt boasted. Yeah, sure, Lyanna said, raising an eyebrow. Parents, get ready, the teacher called out. Hold on to the edge of the sack, Kurt told Lyanna. He transferred Leon to his other arm. Some families were already falling and struggling to get back up. Lyanna followed Kurt's instructions. She was shocked when he suddenly grabbed her waist and hoisted the sack like she weighed nothing. When I say jump, you jump. Trust me, Kurt said. Lyanna just nodded, still uncertain. They were carrying a child, after all. When the race ended, Lyanna couldn't believe it. They won. Everyone clapped for Kurt, impressed by his strength. Wow, not only is Leon's dad handsome, he's super strong, too, the teacher said. I told you we'd win, Kurt said, winking. You're something else, Lyanna said, laughing. She couldn't help but admire him. The games continued, and Leon even won another prize with Kurt's help. After the games, they sat down to eat. Lyanna frowned when a woman approached Kurt carrying a juice drink. Hi, handsome. You really impressed me. By the way, I'm a single mom, the woman said flirtatiously. Lyanna wanted to pull the woman's hair out because of her obvious flirting. Thanks, Kurt replied coldly. Lyanna was secretly pleased by Kurt's chilly response. Handsome, want my number, the woman persisted. Are you blind? My wife's right here. I'm married, Kurt said with irritation. Lyanna couldn't hold back a laugh at how embarrassed the woman looked. Oh, I thought you were just the nanny, the woman said snidely. Leave, miss, Kurt said sternly. The woman rolled her eyes at Lyanna before walking away. You're turning down blessings now, Lyanna teased. I already have my blessing in front of me, Kurt said seriously. Lyanna swallowed hard and focused on her food, biting into a spring roll. Days passed, and Kurt and Lyanna became even closer, not just physically, but emotionally. Their hearts started to connect. There were no classes, and Kurt took Leon to the mall to buy toys and school supplies. While Lyanna was changing the bedsheets in Kurt's room, the bathroom door opened, and Kurt stepped out. Lyanna was stunned by his physique. 8-pack abs, perfectly toned, his skin glistening slightly from the steam. She didn't even notice he had walked up to her. Want to touch it? Kurt said, grinning. Lyanna blinked, confused. My abs? You want to touch them? He asked again. Lyanna swallowed hard, then slowly ran her hand over his abs. Damn, she whispered, biting her lip. Kurt groaned slightly, struggling to breathe. You're driving me crazy, Lyanna. That's just your touch. What if? He trailed off, eyes locked on her lips. I'm waiting, Lyanna whispered. Kurt didn't answer. He just stared at her. Kurt, she said softly, feeling heat rush through her body. His eyes were heavy with desire. Without warning, he pressed his lips to hers, hungry, possessive. Lyanna moaned as his mouth sucked at hers. They both froze when the towel covering Kurt's lower body slipped off. Lyanna's eyes widened, her jaw dropped as she stared at his aroused length. Holy, it's huge, she gasped, unable to look away. You're the reason it's angry, Kurt said with a laugh, reaching for the towel to cover up. Can I touch it? Lyanna asked shyly. If you touch it, you'll have to pay, Kurt warned. Lyanna gulped and nodded. Okay, I'm sure. Then go ahead, Kurt said. When she touched and squeezed him, he lifted her up and laid her on the bed. There's no turning back now, he said hoarsely. Though nervous, Lyanna nodded. She wanted to experience to be a woman. Just go slow, okay? It's really big. Kurt kissed her ear. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. Lyanna had never felt anything like this. Pain mixed with pleasure. But the longer it went on, the more intense the pleasure became. Kurt became more passionate, almost desperate for her lips, moving across her body. But he froze. Why'd you stop? Why do you look like that? Lyanna asked, wincing from the pain. You're a virgin? Kurt asked in disbelief. I'll explain later. Just keep going. I'm burning up, Lyanna said, frustrated. Kurt chuckled, kissed her forehead, and began moving again, this time with more force. Lyanna moaned louder, like someone might hear them from outside. After they were done, she clung to him. Both of them soaked in sweat from the intensity of what just happened. Kurt waited for an explanation. The truth is, Leon isn't my son. He's my nephew. My sister died giving birth to him. She couldn't handle the stress. She found out the father already had a wife and kids, Lyanna confessed. I'm sorry, Lyanna. You must have been through a lot raising him alone, Kurt said with compassion. You're right. It's been really hard, especially when Leon gets sick. But I manage. I feel sorry for him, she said. You don't have to do it alone anymore. I'll be here for both of you, Kurt said with a smile. Lyanna snuggled against his side. Are you giving me hope for no reason? Then let's get married, Kurt said. Lyanna looked up at him. Married? Yes. Let's make this family official, Kurt said, smiling. Tears welled in Lyanna's eyes. Kurt, I don't know what to say. Just say yes. Say you'll marry me, Kurt said. Yes, Kurt. I'll marry you, she said tearfully. Kurt wiped her cheek and smiled. One more round. Lyanna pinched his side. Be gentle. The dragon's waking up again. She smiled and gave in. Her body wanted him, too. They both jumped when they heard Leon's voice outside the door. Dad, Mom, Leon called. Shit, Kurt cursed, scrambling off the bed for clothes. Lyanna also rushed to gather their clothes. Mom, Leon called again. Just a second, sweetie, Lyanna called back. Why haven't they let you in yet? Ninfa asked Leon. Inside, Lyanna and Kurt panicked when they heard the doorknob turning. Lyanna turned pale from fear. They were about to be caught like thieves. Ninfa quickly closed the door again after seeing them scrambling to dress. Leon, wait for your mom and dad downstairs, Ninfa said, trying not to burst into laughter. Lyanna's face burned with embarrassment. She wished she could vanish. Kurt scratched his head, laughing. Well, we're caught. You're still laughing? Your grandma saw us? Lyanna snapped. It's fine. You're already my wife now, Kurt replied. Still embarrassing, Lyanna muttered as they headed downstairs. She could barely move from the shame. Grandma bought me lots of new clothes, Leon said happily. Did you say thank you? Lyanna asked. Yes, Leon nodded. Lyanna, why can't you look me in the eye? Ninfa asked. Kurt laughed silently, amused by Lyanna's blushing face. Sorry, Miss Ninfa, Lyanna began. What for? Ninfa asked, smiling. I'm sure Grandma's not mad. In fact, she looks even happier, Kurt said. You caught me and Kurt, and I'm so embarrassed, Lyanna confessed. When's the wedding? Ninfa asked. If it were up to me, today, Kurt said. I think you have feelings for him, too, Ninfa said. Yes, Lyanna admitted shyly. Kurt grinned from ear to ear. Lyanna, let's get married. A year passed. Lyanna and Kurt were married. Kurt became very hands-on with the company, and under his care, the business grew even more. He'd been away for 2 days on an out-of-town meeting with new investors. Lyanna couldn't understand why she was so irritated. There was no real reason for it, but her mind kept wandering. Maybe he's with another woman, she thought, even though she knew deep down Kurt would never do that. She had also been throwing up every morning for 2 days. Mom, why do you look upset? Leon asked. I don't know. I'm irritated, but I don't know why, Lyanna said, confused. They were eating breakfast when Ninfa noticed her silence. Did you and Kurt have a fight? Ninfa asked. There he is, Lyanna muttered, scowling as Kurt entered the room. Kurt noticed her expression immediately. What's with the face? Lyanna didn't answer. She just rolled her eyes at him. Did something happen? Ninfa asked. Nothing. We were fine when I left, Kurt said. I'm mad at you, Lyanna said. Why? What did I do? Nothing. I'm just mad. Lyanna, come on. Did I do something wrong? I was away for work, not to mess around. You know that, Kurt said softly. Lyanna bit her lip. She didn't understand why she felt like crying. Ninfa smiled. You might be pregnant. Both Lyanna and Kurt turned to look at her. Pregnant? Lyanna echoed. If you're pregnant, that means, Kurt started. I'm almost 2 months late, Lyanna admitted. Nympha stood up and clapped her hands. I'm going to have a great grandchild.